Вот сейчас мы живем после
Now we
контрреволюции
live
буржуазной.
after the bourgeois counter-revolution of 1991.
Вы не прочитаете ни одной книги.
You will not read a
не
single
увидите ни
book,
одного фильма.
you will not see a single
Вы не
film,
услышите ни
you
одной
will not
мелодии,
hear a single melody, a song
которая
that the
бы
whole
объясняла.
people would sing.
Это
This only
только
shows the
показывает
defectiveness
ущербность
of
этого
this
мира.
liberalism.
Все те, кто кричали,
All those who shouted,
у
"Now
нас
we
нет
have
свободы,
freedom,
дайте
give us
нам
freedom,
свободу, им
we will
показывали,
show that we are
что мы
creators,"
творцы.
they gave
Дали
freedom.
свободу.
And what?
И что? А? Да. Ведь Путин
But
правильно
Putin correctly
сказал,
said on television,
телевидение
so what?
не
Television is just for
для
earning
того,
from a
чтобы
minute of
заработать
advertising
минуту
time,
рекламного
or for
времени.
showing the so-called defective
Или
series.
показывать
He called them
так
not detectives,
называемые
but
сериалы
defectives.
он назвал их не детективы, а дефективы. Это действительно так. А вот в советские
This is
времена
indeed the
мое
case.
поколение воспитывалось на этих романах. Был такой
In Soviet
писатель,
times, my generation was brought up on these novels. There was
который
such a
написал
writer, Ivan Antonivich Yefremov,
«Это
who wrote
одна грань
Ties of Athens,
прошлого
This is one facet from the past, and
и
two
два
possible
возможных
variants
варианта
for the
развития
development
будущего.
of the future,
Туманность Андромеды
the Andromeda Nebula
и час быка.
and the Hour of the Bull.
Причем там и там
Moreover,
межпланетные
in
полеты,
both books,
человечество
there are
летает,
interplanetary flights.
но
Humanity
на планете
flies.
Торманс в часе быка писатель
But on the
высказывает
planet of
очень
Torments, in
интересное
the Hour of the
суждение.
Bull, the writer
Я
makes a
думаю,
very
что за
interesting
это
judgment.
суждение, где он
I
впервые
think that
дает
for this
оценку
judgment,
Библии,
where for the
с
first
позиции
time he
человека,
gives an evaluation of the
который
Bible
смотрит на нашу
from the
историю
position of a
как
person
на
who looks at our
далекое
history
прошлое,
as a distant,
сотни
distant
лет.
past, hundreds of
Вот что он
years.
пишет. Подавление индивидуальности
For this,
сводит
he was
людей
liquidated.
в человеческое
And this is what he
стадо,
writes.
как было в темные века
The
Земли,
suppression of
когда
individuality
христианская
brings people into a
церковь
human herd,
практически выполнила
as it
задачу
was
сатаны,
in the dark
злом,
ages of the earth,
сделав
when the
убийцами
Christian
новых
church
людей.
factually fulfilled the task of Satan,
Главная религиозная
embittered
книга
and made murderers of multitudes of
и
people.
могущественная из прошлых цивилизаций
Unfortunately, the main religious book of the most technical and powerful of past civilizations, white, was the Bible, filled with evil, betrayal, fiery enmity, and endless murder.
написания этого романа Иван Антонович
Soon after writing this novel,
говорят,
Ivan Antonovich
его
died
свободой
suddenly.
занимался Андропов,
They say that Andropov personally dealt with his fate
КГБ.
when he headed the KGB.
Но есть интересный
But there is an
момент
interesting moment in all
во
this.
всем этом. Иван Антонович
Ivan Antonovich
писал
Yefremov wrote about
о
interplanetary flights.
межпланетных полетах. Об этом много.
They talk a lot about this. They are going to Mars there,
Нравится.
and it is rare to find strict scientific statements that biological life in space without a magnetic field has no protection and perishes.
Биологическая жизнь в космосе без наличия магнитного
I
поля
personally knew about this since 1975
я лично об этом знал.
and understood perfectly well that the Americans did not fly to the moon.
Понимал, что американцы на Луну не летали. Там была просто
There was
договоренность.
just an agreement,
Есть об этом.
and there is information about
Когда
this on the
американцы
internet.
нашему руководству
When the
сказали,
Americans
«Да,
told our
ваш
leadership,
в космосе,
well, okay, your man is the first in space, let us be the first on the
так
moon.
надо». Потому что в научном мире
Well, by all
есть
means, if you need it that way,
известно в одной стране,
because in the scientific
становится
world,
известно.
it is like this. If something is known in one country,
На эту тему.
then this something very quickly becomes known in another country.
Говорят о
We have works on this theme.
полетах, ну, я улыбаюсь. Может быть, я
And now when they talk about interplanetary flights, well, I smile. Maybe I'm wrong, but
библейская
the biblical civilization gave birth to the technosphere, with the help of which it protects itself from the biosphere. I was abroad, in China, in Vietnam, in Malaysia, and in other places. They asked, somehow they stopped studying Russian. Everyone is studying English. And I say, why are you surprised? The technosphere was created under the whip of usurious interest by the West. All documentation is in English, and it's no surprise that they learn English. True to the seated Western representatives, I openly said that the sixth paradigm will no longer be technological, but worldview methodological. And since it is most clearly laid out in Russian, then, during the life of one generation, those who want to understand how to build the future will learn Russian. And Russian will be the language of international communication, interstate communication in every country. Right now, many scientists are looking for contacts with UFOs, aliens. Well, Ivan Antonivich Yefremov, a very intelligent person, nevertheless, again, this is my personal evaluation, he fell into the so-called tunnel scenario. In what sense? Let us ask ourselves this question. What is easier to transfer over a huge distance to other galaxies? Mass or information? Or otherwise, matter or information? First such a question. Now the second question. So, through Einstein, not Einstein himself, but through him, a ban was imposed in science on researching the vacuum. The vacuum is the primary aggregate state of substance. It is known from science that information is transmitted through wave processes, and the speed of information transfer is the higher the density of the aggregate substance in which the waves propagate. Well, for example, even sound waves, 330 meters per second in air, 1,500 meters per second in water, 5,000 meters per second in steel. How can this be explained? Very simple. The range of a molecule or an atom, the smaller the gap between the molecules of the atom, the faster the waves propagate, both sound and electromagnetic. Then the question is natural. Where is the smallest gap between the particles of the aggregate substance? In the vacuum. It is not there at all. And there, in the vacuum, fields exist. They are called torsion fields, that is, fields of torsion. Official science absolutely denies all of this and says that there is nothing like this. This is all nonsense. We have a committee of pseudoscience headed by academician Vitaly Ginzburg. Allegedly, there is no point in even discussing all this, but I want to approach interplanetary flights from a nravious point of view. In general, our technosphere, its development has reached such a point that contacts with alien civilizations are possible, but they don't happen. Why? How did the 20th century begin? With the novel by H.G. Wells, War of the Worlds. Remember, the Martians attacked the Earthlings? And how does the 21st century begin? Komsomolskaya Pravda, on November the 21st, publishes an article by the American physicist, "Martians were destroyed by aliens with hydrogen bombs." The article ends like this: "At the moment of the alien attack, the Martian civilization in terms of development was similar to our ancient Egyptian at the time of the construction of the pyramids. Why did they not please? No answer, but there is a pre-warning. It is better to stay away from aliens. They are evil. Maybe they killed each other. That's why they don't show up." This is the most important thing in the article. Let's take a look at Hollywood movies, where aliens come to Earth for what purpose? Be sure it is to kill us. And Ivan Antonivich Yefremov writes about a certain ring of planets where there is intelligent life. In our opinion, there is a reason carrying life, human, and we are not allowed there because we are really spiteful, aggressive. What are Hollywood films? This is a mirror into which the modern civilization of Earthlings looks. Now let's imagine. So, Ivan Antonivich Yefremov is writing a novel, a fantasy novel, in which he describes how cosmic ships take off from planet Earth to the planet Tormans. He does not write about how, at a speed not exceeding the speed of light, one can move to another galaxy. No human life alone is enough. Then the question is, how do the inhabitants of different so distant planets communicate with each other? And now let's imagine the same fantasy novel in a slightly different aspect. On Earth, as a result of the study of the vacuum, we come to the discovery of such fields with the help of which it is possible to transmit information and receive information not at a speed of 300 kilometers per second, but instantaneously. That is when it becomes clear how, in general, the inhabitants of different so distant planets communicate with each other. The people on Earth, seeing a different life, absolutely fantastic, cannot but change life here. And what should people do? Now, even if we only assume such a possibility, then what should those who supervise the biblical project do? I said that their task is not to seize all power, but to make sure that a person here does not take place in the quality of human, so that civilization does not become human. Of course, in this case, it's necessary to prohibit exploring the vacuum and coming to the discovery of those fields with the help of which it is possible to establish communication with extraterrestrial civilizations. And so, the article that I have already read to you, this is precisely confirmation that such a project exists, because, I say again, 100 years from the beginning of the 20th century, The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. He is also a science fiction writer. He does not pose the question, but how from there did the Martians fly here, though they don't look like people there? At the beginning of the 21st century, aliens flew to Mars. After all, the memory of an ordinary person is no more than 2 weeks, and not everyone will remember what science fiction writers wrote at the beginning of the 20th century, and not everyone will juxtapose this with what they write now.